Memory Cemetery here in Tampa. Now, I did a vlog in the past on this gentleman, but as you know, my YouTube channel is disabled because of some music copyright. So since I was in town, I wanted to honor him again. That man was former baseball player and manager and Hall of Famer Al Lopez. Now, he was born here in Tampa in 1908, and when he passed away in 2005, he was one of the oldest members of the Major League Hall of Fame. He was about 97 years old when he passed away, and he's buried right behind me in one of the wall crypts. Al, he was a manager for, had a 19-year season. He was a catcher, and his lifetime batting average was .261, and he had 51 home runs, and he got inducted into the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame in 1977. Now, he was also the manager in the 50s of the Cleveland Indians and also the Chicago White Sox, and he led them to American League pennants. Now, I'm pretty sure they would have loved to have him around nowadays. Indians are doing a little bit better than the White Sox, but anyway, he's buried right over here, and his record, he was very durable. Now, his record was later broken by Brett Boone of the Cincinnati Reds, and then later that record got broken by Carlton Fisk as far as games as catcher. But anyway, he's buried over here with his wife. He's right here. Now, above him is Anthony Cuccinello, excuse me. It's ironic that they're buried right here next to each other, and he's right there. Now, Anthony, a lot of people may not know about him. He was 87 years old when he passed away, but he played 15 seasons as a second and a third baseman for Cincinnati Reds, Brooklyn Dodgers, New York Giants, Boston Braves, and the Chicago White Sox. And he was named the league All-Star team 3 times in his career. He had a 1,729 career hits and a lifetime .280 batting average, and that is Anthony or Tony Cuccinello. He's buried there, and like I said, he was 87 years old when he passed away in 1995, so I wanted to give him a shout out as well. But right here is Al. Now, these crypts aren't marked, so I don't know if these are his family members will be buried here later or not. But anyway, if you like this video, please subscribe down below and feel free to leave any comments about Al Lopez.
Tampa House has a new home tonight. The Florida Department of Transportation moved the house of hometown legend Al Lopez. The process of moving it at another house actually started last night. Our Rob Munoz shows you how crews pulled it off.
4 a.m., 10th Avenue in Ybor City. Not one, but 2 100-year-old homes creak precariously through the streets. Palm trees are bent. Street signs move to make way. They're delicate. They also weigh 100 tons apiece. Al Lopez Jr. grew up in this home with his family in the 60s, but when it existed a mile away.
They dug tunnels and put steel beams under it to lift it up and bring it over here. That's quite an accomplishment. How they got it over here is amazing.
An 8-hour project turned into 14. They had to be careful about putting them into position, but eventually they were tucked side by side on 19th Street. They're destined to become museums.
I think it's a kind of a signal or a reflection of what Tampa was back in the old days and how important baseball was to this community.
Al Lopez, Tampa's first Major League Baseball player and Hall of Famer, raised a family here. Mary Alvarez, a longtime city council member, says it's proper to honor him and fellow players.
It means a lot because we have a lot of baseball greats that came from Tampa and are still here.
If he were alive today, Al Lopez would be proud to see his former home where it is now, says his son.
I think he'd be very, very pleased to see that, being restored, preserved and restored.
Now, in case you're wondering what becomes of the house right next to Al Lopez's house, it's actually going to be turned into a Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office museum. That museum, along with the Baseball Museum, are set to open next spring. In Ybor City, I'm Rob Munoz, ABC Action News.
As we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, we are learning more about the contributions of Hispanics to the game of baseball. ABC Action News reporter Michael Paluska has the story.
History and baseball go hand in hand in the Hispanic community, and Tampa just got an awesome museum, the Tampa Baseball Museum, here at the Al Lopez House. Al Lopez was the first Hispanic from Tampa to be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. The player, coach, and manager, a trailblazer for other Hispanic Americans. ABC Action News was there in 2013 when the first steps toward opening this museum started. His childhood home crawling through the historic streets of Ybor City to its current location, now a museum for the world to enjoy. A wall of autographed baseballs, a focal point of the museum.
And that ball collection says it all, because when you look at it, you realize, 89 players from Tampa. And then if you start to read the names, you will start to see the Latin or Hispanic names and how many of them are from that culture.
The Tampa Baseball Museum at the Al Lopez House held its grand opening this weekend. It will be open Thursday, Friday, and Saturdays. In Tampa, Michael Paluska, ABC Action.
Before Tropicana or Steinbrenner Field, before the Rays or Yankees ever set foot in Tampa, there was a different ballpark. It didn't have a jumbotron, it didn't have a skyline, but what it did have was soul. One that trained legends, hosted champions, heard the voice of a president, and gave a city something to believe in. This is the story of Al Lopez Field, Tampa Bay's forgotten ballpark that built two dynasties. Al Lopez was born in 1908 to Spanish immigrants in Ybor City. His father rolled cigars in a factory, but Al had other plans. He once said, "I hated the cigar factories. I vowed never to work in one." Instead, he played ball on makeshift fields carved out of empty lots. He made it to the major leagues in 1928, caught for 19 seasons, and later managed Cleveland and Chicago to American League pennants. In 1977, he became Tampa's first Hall of Famer. But his city honored him long before Cooperstown. On October 6, 1954, Tampa threw a parade. Thousands lined the streets for Al Lopez Day. That afternoon, the mayor unveiled a brand new stadium, Al Lopez Field, named after him while he was still managing. A ball player, a manager, and now a baseball field. Al Lopez Field broke ground in 1954 as part of a larger vision. A community sports complex on 720 acres of former military land, once home to Drew Field Air Base. The park opened in March 1955. Built for $287,901, about $3.3 million in today's dollars. Capacity, about 5,000. Field dimensions, 340 to left and right, 400 to center. No obstructing poles, no upper decks, just a concrete grandstand, an aluminum canopy, and open-air Florida baseball. It's sat near the center of Tampa, east of Dale Mabry Highway, where Raymond James Stadium stands today. The Chicago White Sox moved their spring training to Tampa in 1955, making Al Lopez Field their home base through 1959. Stars like Minnie Minoso, Nellie Fox, Louis Aparicio, and Billy Pierce warmed up on its grass. And in 1957, Lopez returned, not as a guest, but as the manager to the Chicago White Sox. During one fiery moment, he was ejected mid-game. Later, he joked, "The umpire threw me out of my own ballpark." In 1959, the Sox broke camp at Al Lopez Field and reached the World Series that fall. The season started under Florida Palms and ended in October glory. In 1960, the Cincinnati Reds replaced the Sox as spring tenants. They stayed for nearly 3 decades and brought a dynasty with them. Pete Rose, Johnny Bench, Joe Morgan, Tony Perez, Dave Concepcion, they all trained right here in Tampa. The surrounding practice facilities became known as Redsland, and in the summers, that field stayed alive. You might know the Tampa Tarpons as a team that plays at Steinbrenner Field today. But let's talk about the original Tampa Tarpons. From 1957 to 1988, they were Tampa's team, a Class A Florida State League franchise that played its home games at Al Lopez Field, mostly as an affiliate of the Cincinnati Reds. But this wasn't just a Reds farm club. This was summer in Tampa. Kids chasing foul balls, autograph seekers leaning over the dugout fence, and future stars like Ken Griffey Sr., Johnny Bench, Pete Rose, Dan Gullett, and Dan Dreisen making their professional debuts right here. The Tarpons brought home 3 league championships, 1957, 1959, and 1961, and gave Tampa a baseball identity of its own. In 1988, the franchise was sold, relocated, and renamed the Sarasota White Sox. But their story didn't just end there. In 2018, the Tampa Yankees revived the Tarpons name, paying tribute to the team that helped put Tampa on the baseball map. On November 18, 1963, just 4 days before the world changed forever, President John F. Kennedy stood before a crowd of more than 10,000 at Al Lopez Field in Tampa, Florida. He was there to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the first scheduled commercial airline flight, Tony Jannus's leap across Tampa Bay. But the day became about much more. Kennedy visited MacDill Air Force Base, addressed labor unions, and toured the city where throngs of cheering citizens lined the streets to catch a glimpse of their president. And then, in the heart of a humble baseball park, he delivered one of the final public speeches of his life.
Mr. Chairman, Congressman, Senator Smathers, members of the Florida Congressional Delegation, mayors of Tampa, St. Petersburg, ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad to come back to Tampa.
That speech at Al Lopez wasn't just a moment in Tampa's history. It was part of America's last look at a president who inspired a generation. In the early 1990s, the New York Yankees wanted to leave Fort Lauderdale. Tampa was calling. Their first plan? Build their new spring home on the same ground where Al Lopez Field once stood. But the land was already spoken for. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers had secured it for a new NFL stadium, what would become Raymond James Stadium. So the Yankees pivoted, crossing Dale Mabry Highway to build Legends Field instead. They came close, but the ghost of Lopez Field stayed untouched. Al Lopez Field is gone, but it helped build the White Sox of '59, the Big Red Machine of the '70s, and the spirit of a baseball town. It may not show up on maps anymore, but it left its mark on the game and on the hearts of those who filled its stands. When the Yankees came, they wanted that land, but unfortunately it was gone. So they crossed the street. And that, my friends, is a story for next time.